So John Carmack, by the way, one of the idols of the 20th century, John Carmack was the guy who built Doom, the video game Doom, right?
Oh man, I used to love that game.
Yes. Carmack is a programming god, just like doing the work of 200 people. They had nowhere else to promote him to because they just run out of levels to give him. And he was just a machine.
I think you said there's no difference between being early and being wrong. What do you mean by that?
I don't know, when you remember the 90s, you open up Real Player and like buffering.
Yep.
Do you remember this thing called the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yes.
Palmer Luckey, and we shared a common sort of hero figure, a guy named John Carmack. Did he talk about John Carmack when he came on the show?
I believe he did.
He did, right? So John Carmack, I think, by the way, one of the idols of the 20th century, John Carmack was the guy who built Doom, the video game Doom, right?
Oh man, I used to love that game.
Yes. So Doom, so Carmack is a programming god, right? What he would do is he invented basically what is called the engine, which ran under Doom and then under Quake and all these engines. And then eventually he met Palmer because he was very interested in VR, and they wound up doing Oculus together. And then, Carmack got hired into Facebook, right? But the reason I bring up Carmack is that, there's this great story at Facebook where they realized like Carmack individually was doing the work of entire 200-person teams.
Holy shit.
Just one person guzzling Diet Coke, right? Like, I think he now lives in Dallas, right? Like sitting by himself, just like doing the work of 200 people. At one time, Facebook HR realized like, they had nowhere else to promote him to because they just run out of levels to give him. And he was just a machine. And so the reason I bring this up is it is very hard to get yourself to the top of an industry unless you know what greatness looks like. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky because when I joined Facebook, I was surrounded just by sheer serendipity by some great engineers, just like I was at Microsoft, right? So now, even though these guys are, by the way, just to be clear, they were 1,000 times better than me. They would run circles around me with anything technical, like without even batting an eyelid. It's like me playing like a pickup game against LeBron or something, right? But I saw what greatness looks like. So which meant that many, many years later, when I was starting doing investing or when I meet entrepreneurs now, I now have a rubric in my mind of, okay, I know what elite talent looks like. I see the work they put in. I see how they talk, how they think, how they spend their free time. So now I can sort of like, if you know how like Steph Curry shoots threes, and then how the kid you play with at the gym shoots threes. I kind of see what greatness looks like. So I was exposed to Facebook. I was exposed to some real greatness at Facebook. So I wanted doing ads. It became a huge hit at Facebook. And I think Silicon Valley is one of those places where it has a lot of good things, but everyone's kind of looking for, what is the win you've had, right? What is the thing which kind of says, okay, you are somebody who's capable of something. And that whole thing gave me that. Like I started to just get known as, Sriram's this guy who kind of built all this stuff at Facebook. And if you go Google me from back then, I would start showing up in all of these press pieces. It's very important. I think it put me and my wife on the map in Silicon Valley. And so I'm very, very grateful for that.
Wow. You had mentioned something earlier about 5 minutes ago. I think you said there's no difference between being early and being wrong. What do you mean by that?
So I stole this from somebody we should talk about, Mark Andreessen. Mark Andreessen is the inventor of the web browser. He was the founder of Netscape. Did you use Netscape growing up? Yeah. Great, right? So the spinning logo with the stars and all of that. So Mark Andreessen was kind of one of the original boy wonders of sort of technology world. He built this browser called Mosaic, and he started this company called Netscape, which was kind of this darling child of Silicon Valley in the 90s. And then got crushed by Microsoft. But then 10 years later, him and Ben Horowitz started this venture capital firm at Andreessen Horowitz, which we can get to. I wound up joining later, but for many years he was a mentor. Is still a mentor for me, and he has great many sayings. So this is, and so when you have an idea as an entrepreneur, right? Like, I think there are a lot of things which can go wrong, and one of the things that you have to think about is this the right time for this idea? Right. And like, history is filled with examples of companies that had the right idea, but were too early and died. Let me give you an example. Do you know what the company Instacart does? Right. It's a grocery shipping service, right? Or DoorDash. What does DoorDash do? Right. Like, you buy a product, they bring it in from the nearby restaurant, or, deliver you groceries, right? Exact same company as Webvan in the 90s. Right, one of the most famous .com busts. People ask you, oh man, what was one of the biggest things in the .com era which lost money? It'd be Webvan. They were right. They were just too early, right? Or Pets.com, right? Like, another famous .com bust, but people have figured out later. MySpace, right? Like, MySpace was, or Friendster. Do you remember Friendster, right? Like,
I don't remember Friendster.
Well, all these social networks, but MySpace, I'm sure you were on, right?
Oh yeah.
It was okay for a while, and they sold to I think Murdoch, but Facebook did so much better. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to think about, is this the right inflection time for my idea? Because when you connect the right idea, the right entrepreneur, and the right time in history, magic happens. I'll give you an example. If you look at YouTube, right? So people think of YouTube as, just obviously these days the de facto way to have videos online, right? But when they first came out, it was other people had tried it, right? Like, Google had this effort called Google Videos that tried to get videos online. Others had tried it, but none of them had really worked. But YouTube capture this moment in time because digital cameras were starting to explode, and I think you started to see the increase of original mobile phones which had reasonable quality, right? And in 2008, the iPhone comes out. So one is you're starting to see more video production, right? Like by regular people, right? Without needing a camcorder or doing those home videos or needing a bulky camera, you're seeing video production go up. Second is broadband around the United States was getting better. Super important to basically get these videos to show up. Like, I don't know, when you remember the 90s, you open up Real Player and like buffering.
Yep.
You watch a minute, buffering, right? Like, in 2008, most of those issues are pretty solved, and you could watch a video without it, buffering. And then, so these guys, like the YouTube founders, like Steve and Jawad and all these guys, built this product, which more than anything just captured this right moment in history, right? Like, and they rode that wave. And I think a lot of times the difference between a $500 billion iconic company and some company which runs out of money, is not the persistence or the heart or the effort of the entrepreneur, right? It is just they were wrong. They were the wrong time, right? And so when you're an investor, which obviously we can get that I spend a lot of time as, I was trying to think about, is this the right time, for this idea to happen? Palmer is another good example, right? Like, so a lot of people had tried virtual reality. In the 90s, there was this thing called VRML, where you're like, oh, let us embed virtual reality in your computer. And there are all these movies and TV shows which had virtual reality in it. The Matrix is the most famous one, but there was a Pierce Brosnan movie. There were all these things had virtual reality. But the challenge was that the hardware was too complicated. Nobody could figure out the hardware, and there was no internet bandwidth to kind of show you these experiences, right? So what Palmer, and through his genius, through his sort of, he told you his amazing story, him sort of like figuring this out by himself, he sort of captured the right moment in time with the camera gear, trying to figure out all the low latency interfaces so that the image that the camera sees is now, or the image that is being projected is kind of reacting with you in near latency. So that was the right moment in time. So I often think about, like, you need the right time. The other thing you need is you need some luck and some magical lightning in a bottle. And especially with consumer products. I think with businesses and enterprises, it's a bit different. Like you can go call up your customers and you can be like, hey, what do you guys want? I can build that for you. But with consumers, I do think you need lightning in a bottle. So YouTube, they started taking all these videos, they put it up. I think an SNL video once went viral. They went off to the races. Facebook has a interesting history. Everybody knows about the Facebook history about Harvard. They've all seen the movie with the social network movie. But one of the other untold piece of Facebook history is that how did videos become a thing on Facebook? Because for the many years, Facebook only did photos, right? But this all seems like ancient history, and anybody under the age of 30 is like, hey, folks, what are you talking about? I'm on TikTok, Instagram. But for a long time, you posted a photo on Facebook of your friends and you tagged them. No videos until, do you remember this thing called the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. This is internet history. So, but the Ice Bucket Challenge was basically people raising money. And what you would do is you would take this bucket of cold water, dunk it on yourself, right? Like with a video camera in front of you. And then most importantly, you would then shout out 4 or 5 people. You'd be like, hey, I'm going to, challenge my celebrity friend to go do the Ice Bucket Challenge, right? It would spread. So I was at Facebook at this time, and Facebook had just launched video, but they could not really get people to upload video or what is going on. But the Ice Bucket Challenge had this remarkable couple of properties. One was that, it was video and people had to create it on their own phones. So it was personal. But second, you need to tag your friends because you're tag some friends. Facebook just happened to have, a platform where you could post a video and you could tag a friend. You could not do that on YouTube. So I remember being in this meeting where with Sheryl Sandberg, where there was this vertical straight line, and that was usage, right? Like because everybody, was uploading videos onto Facebook, and so every platform has one of these stories. With AI, I would say it's ChatGPT, for example, which has a story. But I think my point is that with consumer products, you need lightning in a bottle, and you need the right timing. And often, when I talk to an entrepreneur, I often ask them, what makes you so sure that now is the right time? Not 4 years ago, not 4 years from now. Why is today the right time?
Interesting. No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.